So life's been a little crazy lately. No surprise there. I'm trying to buy a home. A lot of things are happening at once, and I'm struggling in some cases to put out more than, or at least put out one video a week. But still, I want to continue to try to do that. Hopefully, it'll get a little bit easier as things start to catch up and slow down. The home buying thing is going well, but today we're taking a look at that Dell small form factor and doing a little bit of a follow up. But we're also kind of seeing just what we got for what we're putting into it. Okay, so you may remember that the Dell is the one that we went ahead and tested the RX 6400 with. That video card is a low profile video card. It fits nicely in there, and it actually goes pretty well with some of the other things that I've kind of done with it. To begin with, this Dell I almost bought it as a joke. It was a $150 refurbished Dell that I got on Amazon. It came from a company called Refurb Banana, and they did a fantastic job. It came in looking super clean, super nice, super organized. It had dual channel 8 gig sticks, dual channel memory, 8 gig of 1333, I believe it was. It was already formatted with Windows 10 Pro. It set up pretty well. There was no bloatware on it. It's clean looking system that was put together well, and I mean really, really nice. It already had the 4-core 4-thread i5 4670 in it, which was a surprise because I was expecting a lower processor. That was what was advertised. They gave me more than I expected, so that was cool. I went ahead and put a little bit better memory in it. I put 16 gig of DDR3 running at 1600. And of course, we already know that I put the video card, the RX 6400 in it. There are some drawbacks to the 6400, like it doesn't have encoding, so I can't stream from it, or I can't record an OBS like I'm doing right now with this presentation. But other than that, it works out okay. The quality of the card itself and the benchmarks and the everything else ran okay. There is a little bit of a drawback to that because with the PCI Express, right now they are in version with newer hardware is version 4.0. That's about to move up to version 5.0. But for this joke, we're talking about version 4.0. This computer runs on version 3.0 because it's a little bit older, which means this video card is actually, it's kind of, it's been kneecapped a little bit because of the way that AMD has configured the memory configuration and the bus for this card. So it's going to run slower on this system than it would on a 4-core system that had PCI 4.0. But that's okay, because for this use case, it works great, and it's better than any other video card that I've been able to put in there and use, especially for the price. I could get an upgraded video card that would be as good or better that had some other features, but we're talking quite a bit more money. This particular one, the RX 6400, it cost me about $170, okay, which is more than I should have spent, but it's low profile and it's cheaper than any other low profile of similar ilk. With the memory, I believe the memory was 45 bucks, and I'm getting an SSD. We're going to go ahead and pull out the hard drive. We're going to clone that over onto a solid state drive, and so the operating system and all that stuff is going to be a little bit zippier also. So we've upgraded the memory, we're upgrading the storage, and we're upgrading the video, and we're going to see if we can turn this office computer that I got for 150 bucks on Amazon into a gaming computer for, maybe spend a total of 400 bucks or so. Now, to keep in mind, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, they both run about 500 if you can find them in retail. They're going to run you more than that if you can't find them at retail, obviously, if you can find them. But for this, we're going to probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of similar performance for, a pretty good price for maybe 100 bucks less. So we're going to walk through the process of trying to clone that hard drive onto an SSD. We're going to put it all back together. I'll do some gameplay besides just my regular benchmarks. We've already done that. You can check the 6400 stats in the last video for some benchmarks, for some average stuff going on with it. But I'm going to see if I can't probably have to either capture it with the Cloner Alliance video capture card that's an external, or on camera to see kind of what it looks like. But we'll see how it looks and feels. And if I really did it justice by getting an office PC for 150 bucks and playing around with it a little bit, make it into a full-fledged gaming computer. You know, and at this point, maybe not even your basic budget computer. Maybe it's a decent gaming computer. So we'll see. We'll see what I did, and if I all these parts and pieces and all that stuff, we'll see if it turned it into something nice or if it turned out to be Frankenstein's monster. Who knows? In whichever case, so far I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm sure changing a few other things around is just going to make it that much better. All right, so currently that Dell has a 500 gig hard drive, just a regular spinning disk hard drive, and we're going to do a little bit of swapping out. Silicon Power SSD, I think it's a 500 gig, 512. There it is, 512. And I got a bracket because the 2.5 inch will fit much better than the 3.5 inch behind there if I have some kind of adapter. So, yep, step 1 or 2 or 5. I don't know which step it is at this point. Alright, now while this is cloning, I'm going to go ahead and start getting this figured out. Actually, I thought this was going to be plastic, and this is actually metal. This is, yeah, this is metal. That's pretty cool. I didn't expect that. So as soon as this gets done cloning over here, we're going to, yeah, you can see it's going. We're going to go ahead and set this up and put it in place of that hard drive in there and see what happens. All right, now we've arrived at the moment of truth. We've plugged everything back in, hooked it all back up, hitting the power button, and seeing if anything will happen. That's a good sign for the BIOS. Let's see if we get anything in Windows. Oh, it looks like we might. Success. Success, success. Yes. Perfect. So it's a few days later. I've got a chance to test and play with the game, or play with the system a little bit. Generally, I like it. I'll show a little bit here. As you can kind of see, I have been busy. There's a lot of boxes that are packed, a lot of stuff that is put away, boxes behind me off to the side. I mean, I got a lot of stuff going on, but hey, it is what it is. The good news is I should be able to close on the house if everything works out okay and all the paperwork gets signed, you know, maybe within the next week. So those videos will be coming. You'll get to see the new space. I have a dedicated office area that's bigger than just this little enclosed space here, and it's gonna be really, really nice. But anyway, so back to the games. I did go through, and I obviously we can run the typical benchmarks, and we kind of did a little bit of that when we did the 6400. But I wanted to do a little bit of gameplay and some actual, and maybe even a couple benchmarks of other stuff that I don't normally do. So I started with Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and that's got a built-in benchmark, so I went ahead and used it. 1080 high is where I set things, even though it tried to default me to, I believe, medium to begin with. I went ahead and set it to 1080 high. That was brutal. Yeah, that was rough. That was kind of hard. And it did max out the video card. We were GPU limited at that point. So I stepped it down and I went to medium. That was better. Still had some frame tearing, or some screen tearing. And it wasn't quite, I mean, it was about 40-ish. 42 frames per second, which is good. It's decent, but I would have to do like some capping at 30 or something like that, so I wouldn't get all that screen tearing. I did go down to 1080 low, got even better results. So that was very playable, and I could play around with that just a little bit to keep that over 60 or 70 frames per second, and probably get rid of a lot of that screen tearing that kind of still shows up a little bit. Not bad. Valhalla is a really, really tough game to run on a system, and it's kind of brutal. So for it to be able to do that well on 1080 low, pretty happy with it, especially with that old 4-core, 4-thread 4670 that's in there. I did do Far Cry 6. I just went ahead and started it. I believe I went ahead and started it on 1080 low just to check it out. I might have done high. I don't remember. I'll have to check the tape and what I did. It was, you know, who knows at this point, right? So I went ahead and checked that. Again, the same thing. 1080 low gave me pretty good results, and it worked out pretty well. So, and again, this one I just went ahead, and the results I did for comparison were the benchmark results. Pretty cool game though. I kind of like it. And then an old game that I used to play way back when I was playing with the PS4 and sort of went over to PC with it was Warframe. It tried to give me a windowed 720p, and I changed that, and bad idea to change that, because even though it said it was giving me 140 or something frames per second for the most part, it was rough. I had things popping in. I had network problems. I had it maxing out on the CPU, and it was unplayable, and it wasn't fun. And I couldn't tell if it wasn't fun because, and that was one reason why I stepped away from the game, or because this system just is brutal. I mean, it really just, even though the stats say it was pretty decent, it was in fact not that very not good at all. It just wasn't playable. And then finally I went ahead and played a little bit of CSGO. I'll show a quick little snippet here. I was getting consistently between 150 and 200 frames per second. Even though I usually benchmark this and tell you guys what the benchmark is, this is actually a pretty playable experience. It looked good. It played well. I didn't have any major issues with it. And it was actually a fun experience to go back and kind of play that a little bit. I'm showing footage with bots to kind of give an example, but overall, I mean, yeah, it was good. I didn't have any issues, and it was really, really fun. So overall, would I go ahead and spend $400 to buy a $150 refurbished slimline like this, and put an SSD, upgrade the memory, and put one of these 6400s in it? Absolutely. Don't know what your present situation is, but those Optiplexes can be got for really, really cheap. Now, they're not going to run Windows 11, but that's okay, because on Windows 10, most of those will come with Windows 10 Home or Pro installed. And for, you might get an SSD, you might get a regular hard drive, but SSDs are so cheap right now that yeah, you can get a couple of those, set your games up, and let's face it, it's going to be pretty much a game console. There's not a whole lot you can do. You can't record an OBS or anything like that, or do any kind of live streaming, which is a little bit different from, I think, the newer consoles you can do a little bit of live streaming on, but still, it's a solid experience. It's a solid game, and except for Warframe, and I still think that might be more the game than it is the system I'm trying to run it on. Yeah, it was worth it, and I'm glad I did it. And yeah, it gets to go in the keep pile, or maybe I'm going to end up selling that to somebody that needs one, that knows what they're getting. They're not getting a high-end gaming system. They're getting a mid-range sort of budget gamer, but for a budget gamer, yeah, it works out pretty well. So once again, it was a Dell Optiplex that I got. It was refurbished. I went ahead and put updated memory in it. Went from 8 gig to 16 gig, which did help with some of the newer games. I put the RX 6400 from AMD in there, and then I went ahead and put an SSD and cloned that 500 gig hard drive onto a 500 gig SSD, and she works great. She loads up real quick. She gave me no problem at all. Temperatures were okay. Temperatures were actually better than I thought they would be, being in that enclosed space. And yeah, definitely worth playing. So I'm sorry it took so long to get this video out. I have a lot of stuff I'm packing. Obviously, you can see behind me the shelves are getting empty. I've got boxes sitting in my living room. But maybe within a week and a half, we can start moving some of that stuff, and I can show you guys what I've been doing. And it's pretty cool. I'm very excited. Anyway, that is all I have for right now. If you like the video, go ahead and throw a like on it. If you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe. I've hit sort of a flat line, and most of it is my fault because I haven't been able to get back and do videos like I should be, and I apologize for that. But we're turning a corner here, and we should be able to get this back on track. So don't forget to subscribe. Do all those YouTube things. I appreciate you watching, and if you made it this far, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And don't forget, I mean, just do something nice for somebody. Be good to each other out there, okay? We know it's a crazy, messed up world. Just do one random nice thing for somebody, okay? Till next time, folks. I'll see you later.